evening. Hi, Carol. Why is my screen going on and off? Okay, I think that's settled down a bit now. So I don't know if anybody's actually making along or just watching and making later. Today we're going to do the back of page 1, possibly go on to the front of page 2 if we get time. So okay, so just give you another quick run through, because Helen messaged me earlier that for some reason the videos disappeared off Facebook, which not sure why. So that's the front of the book, and it opens out like that. So on the inside front cover you've got a big pocket there. Oops. And then a small envelope pocket with some of the cutter parts. 2 pockets on the front here, and that opens up to a stacked pocket in the middle. And there's also a tuck spot here that you can put either journal in or a photo on. Open it up, and this is what we're working on tonight. So you've got a top flap, then you've got these 4 corner pockets, so you can just slot these in, and then you've got room to put your larger photos at the top. And then on this side you've got a pocket here to put a photo in. It opens up, you've got a flap at the top and a pocket at the bottom for another photo mat. Turn that over, you've got a belly band with a photo booklet. I've just put a tuck spot here, but you can put your whatever photos you want on there. These are part of the ephemera from the collection, because I know somebody said that they couldn't find that piece of paper. That's because they're from the ephemera. Again, on this side we've got a top flap with the 4 corner pockets again on there. Let's turn that over, you've got 2 opening doors, again with the stacked pocket in the middle. Now this one, that's actually one of the 6x6 papers from the 6x6 pad, which just that way you can put a 6x4 photograph, either landscape or portrait, on there. Close the doors again, and on this side you open that side, and that side, and I've done a photo mat that opens so it can just tuck in to the pocket there. Close them up. On each of your 4 pages you've got a pull out to put your photos on, and on the back you've got a vertical pocket with room for photos. And if you open this one up, on this side, let me just move it across, you've got a pull out to put more photographs on, and that opens out both ways, like that. And I just knocked everything over. So that's that. Hopefully this time Facebook won't lose it all, but like I say, it is a very chunky book, just because I'm hoping to have lots of photographs to put in it. I think it's a 3, yeah, it's just over 3.5 inch spine, so it is quite chunky on that one. Okay, so that's the book in full. Helen, when you log on, there you go. Okay, so working on page 1 on the back. So there's our page 1. Oops. And we open the doors. When we turn it over, this is the bit that we're working on. Okay, so get my cardstock. Should never tidy up when you're in the middle of a project. You can't find anything. So for the flap at the top, you want to cut one at 8 by 5 inches. So cut that down to 5. And just because I don't want to get the big trimmer out, that's the 8-inch mark. Spin it round and put that one on. Oh, it looks a bit dark. So that's the flap for the top. And then we just need to score this at 1/2 inch. So put that up against the side, score at 1/2 inch. Look for the bone folder that I have tidied away again. Fold that over and use a different bone folder because I can't find the other one. Okay, so do all craft desks have a secret compartment where tools go? So that they can hide from everyone. Or is that just mine? So that's the flap that's just gonna go. Onto the top of this page. And for some reason, no matter how many times I turn the sound off on the computer, it's coming back on its own. Right. Okay, so that's glue on the top and just line it up and push that down. Just have a quick catch up on what evening, Jen. Did I find my INSD? Yeah, my INSD paperwork was in the conservatory, which was very weird because I don't remember the last time I went in there with any crafting stuff. So I think somebody hid it, and that's what I'm sticking to. Hubby said it wasn't him, but I'm sticking with he hid it. Hi, Rebecca. Hi, Nikki. missed the beginning. Oh, I think Facebook is having a bit of a issue at the minute. A few people that I know have said they've had problems in a few different groups where it's not working, or it's just, yeah. I'm a firm believer that because a computer was made by a man, it can't multitask. So there's definitely gremlins. Okay, so the slanted pockets, we need to cut 2 at 5 inches by 4 inches. So an A4 sheet of paper is 8 1/4. So this is the offcut from the other one. So cut that at 5. And then cut that again at 4 inches. And this one at 4 inches. And chuck your little pieces away, otherwise you end up with so many you don't know what you're doing. So get the scoreboard out. And so with these being slanted pockets, what we're going to do is when we do our scoring, you want to score 1 on the 4-inch side, turn it onto the 5-inch side and score at 1/2 inch. So I know this is really hard to see, but you have intersecting lines like that on your score, so it makes that nice corner pocket. So 1/2 inch in, 1 on the 5-inch side and 1 on the 4-inch side. And then what we're going to do is, there we go. So we're going to measure in 2 inches from the score line at the top. It takes that to there. And then 2 inches from the score line at the bottom, which takes that to there. And then do that on both of them. So 2 inches from the top score line and 2 inches from the bottom score line. Okay. And then all you do, it's up to, some people prefer to draw a line between them, and some people who don't, which is me, just line it up and chop it down. And again, line it up. And cut your corners off. I have seen people in the past do one corner and then put your bit you've cut off on top. You can do that, but I'll be honest, every time I've tried that, something's moved slightly and it's not quite worked. So I'll get the scissors and I'm just going to miter that corner. And the other one. Okay. And then we fold them over and burnish that down. Okay. And fold this one and make sure you burnish it down really well, and it gives you a nice sharp crease for your pockets. Okay, now they look wrong then. So you've got 2 pockets, one facing each way. So I'll just pop them there while we cut the next pockets. So the next slanted pockets are, you need to cut 2 at 4 inches by 3 inches. So again, take it to the 3-inch mark, and then we spin that round. So we want 2, we know it's already at 3 inches wide, so we want 2 at 4 inches. And again, scoring on the 4-inch side. That said, does it, once you've scored it on one side, does it matter which side you score on? And the answer's no, because you, as long as you get that crossover in the corner, so you've got one there, no matter which side you do the next one on, it's always going to give you a corner pocket. Talking too much. Cut that down there. Now, if like me, you go a bit squiff on that, if you get your, you do a score line and then realise it's in the wrong place, if you turn it over and use a slightly bigger ball tool, it's not showing up very well on screen, and just gently rub it at the back, it will actually, I don't know if you'll be able to see this, get rid of where the score line bump was here. So just here was where the bump was from the score line. So it's always useful to have a double-ended ball tool so that one is slightly bigger than the other, just in case those gremlins get to us and we don't, it doesn't work as it should do. Okay, so on this one we're cutting, no we're not, we are marking at 1.5 inches from both score lines. So score line there, so 1.5 inches from there, and 1.5 inches from that score line is there. So these are slightly shorter pockets. So 1.5 inches on that one and 1.5 inches from the bottom score line. And then again, just trim this off, line it up and trim that down. And again on that one, just line it up and trim that off. So again, you've got 2 pockets, need to miter the corner, and again we're just going to fold and burnish this on the score lines. So fold and burnish. Now on that one, it actually just overlaps in the middle, so I'm just going to trim a bit more off that just so we don't get a lot of bulk at the corner, because you don't want bulky corners. So we've got our base page. Let's move that flap up. So if we put the largest of the corners on the bottom, and again glue on the flaps, pop it on there and just line it up and pop that down. So as you can see, then you've got your corner pocket there. So again, on this side, we'll just put your glue on each side like that, line it up in the corner and squidge it down. So again, you've got two corner pockets like that. Then what we're doing now is putting the smaller of the corner pockets on. I'll do that. Pop your glue on, and again just line it up on top of the corner pocket that you've just put on. So you can see you've got one pocket there and one pocket there, and just make sure you give it a good burnish down. And a top tip, don't eat chocolate while you're doing this, otherwise you'll get chocolate all over your white cardstock. Yes, there speaks experience. So we'll just pop that on there. And line it up again and pop that down. So you can see you've got one pocket there on both sides, and then you've got your two smaller pockets on the front. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that for now. What I will do afterwards is just rub out the little pencil marks. Not going to do that at the minute, because chances are I'll push it out the way and then they won't be straight when they finally glue. So that's the back of page 1. All done. I might even decorate it later. So now for this, you want photo mats at one at 7.5 by 7.5, a tall one at 7 by 5, and then 2 at 6.25 by 4.25, which will just fit your 6 by 4 photographs on. And then there are some cut aparts that are roughly 3 by 4-ish inches that will just slot into those pockets as well. Okay, so the front of page 2, you want one flap, which is going to be 8 inches by 7.5 inches. So we know this is 8.25. That way. So 8.25. We'll trim that down. Get rid of the rubbish. And then we need to do this at 7.5 inches. So there's the 7-inch mark. There's the 7.5 inch mark. So we just line that up and chop that off. So we need to score at 1/2 inch on the shorter side, so that's the 7.5 inch side, and we're scoring at 1/2 inch. Okay. So just fold that over. Oops. Give that a good burnish down. And then we're going to stick this to the right hand side of the page like that. I have thought about doing multicoloured pages with black and white card, just to make it easier so that you can see that it's going to the right hand side. I'm not sure how the book will look once it's finished, so I might have a play with that. I am conscious that sometimes you can't see, so stick that to the right hand edge of the page and just give that a good burnish down. Okay. So now we want a simple pocket. So we need to cut one at 9 by 4 inches. So we need the bigger cutter for this. So we want it at 9 inches. By 4 inches. Okay. And then we're going to put our score lines at 1/2 inch on the 4 inch side. And then spin that round, and on the 9 inch side we're going to score at 1/2 inch and at 8.5 inches. Okay. Then we're going to miter that corner and that one. And I treated myself to some new scissors last week, titanium coated from Stamperia, and I thought, well, scissors are scissors, but they are absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I was very impressed at them. So, because my Tim Holtz ones that I've had for a few years just don't seem to cut that easily these days, and my husband's tried sharpening them, but they're still not as nice to cut with. So here we've got our flap. So our simple pocket is going on the left hand side on the front of the flap, so it goes like that. Okay, so if we pop your glue out, okay, and attach this to the left hand side of the flap. So there's your pocket. I'm just going to get the bone folder and push that down, burnish it in. Fluff on there as well. So when you open that up, that's the front of page 2, and you've got your flap with a simple pocket in there. And then once you open your flap even, we want a flap to go at the top and a simple pocket here. So the flap for the top is 8 inches by 4.5 inches. So 4.5 inches. Oops. That's the 8-inch mark. Let's roll that bit away. So we need to score this at 1/2 inch on the 4.5 inch side. So that goes there, and then we're just folding that over and burnish that fold down. So this now goes at the top of the page as the flap. So I'll pop the glue on there. Oops. And line it up to the top, and then just burnish that down. Give it a good burnish underneath. So that is your top flap, and you've got your side one there as well. So now we're doing a pocket for the bottom. So it's just a simple U-shaped pocket. And again, we need to cut this at 9 inches, which we've already scored. We've already cut a piece of card to 9 inches. So all we need to do on this is cut it down to 4 inches. So trim the bit off the bottom. And that's our simple pocket. So again, we're just going to score on the 9-inch side at 1/2 inch and at 8.5 inches. Spin it round to the 4-inch side and score at 1/2 inch. And then we're just going to miter those corners. And burnish them down. Fold that over and burn. So this pocket just fits at the bottom of the page like that. So get the glue out again. Okay, so that just lines up bottom there. So burnish your pocket down. Okay, so that's the front of side 2. Okay, now I'm going to base decorate the first page. Now with this paper, because it is quite heavily patterned, so let me get the paper out. Now if you remember last week, I've put to one side the paper that I was going to use for the front cover. So this is the paper. Let's have a quick look. Okay, hi Lorraine. Oh, sorry, it's been a heavy day. Hi Helen. Well, if you watch the live back later, you will see the run through, especially for you. So this is the paper pad. Lots of cut aparts on the back. I've decided I might use that one on the front. So you get 2 of each, and that is quite a nice plain on the back. Again, you've got 2 of these with a patterned image on the back. Then you've got, and it does look very Mediterranean, Greek. It makes me think of Santorini. So you've got that. Now if you think when you're using something for your front of your cover, you only need an 8x8 square of it. So to decide what I wanted, I got a 12x12 piece of card and cut an 8x8 square out the middle, so that I could decide, did I want this corner or did I want that corner, or that one's got a nice wood grain effect on the back. That's just, it makes me want to jump in and swim in there. Quite a nice plainish brick pattern. That piece is quite busy, but it is a nice, and again you've got a plain on the back. And like I say, on this one, plainish on the back, but you've got some 3x4 mini prints, or you could cut them into 6x4 if you wanted for your photo mats. So of the 3 for the front, quite like that. Not sure if I like that as much. I like that. I quite like that as well. So it does, actually I prefer that. It does depend which bit of the paper you use, as to which bit. If you use this bottom corner, you've got a lot of building but not a lot of sea. This bottom corner you've got buildings and a seagull. No, I think I like that one. And then this is the one I used on the original one, where you've got the building and you've got this bit of beach here. But again, I quite like that bit where you've got the sea at the back. and I quite like that bit where you've got the building and the sea. And if you're anything like me, you'll decide on a sheet of paper and then faff and change your mind a few times. So because the middle of it is 8 by 8 and these doors are 4 inches wide, 8 plus 4 is 12. So I know, I think I planned it. What I wanted to do, we'll use this one first. So I'm going to cut off the branding strip at the bottom. Like that. Okay. And then I'm going to trim it down to 8 inches high. Or you could trim it at 8 inches and have more of the sky. But for this one, I want the bottom, so I'm just going to trim it to 8 inches. That can be used later. So, do you want your picture to start there? On this one, I want the picture to start on this side and work backwards. So, we know this is 4 inches wide. So I need to cut 3 7/8 from that side. So line it up, 3 7/8. So we know that that's going to fit on there. Okay, so I'm just going to trim 1/8 of an inch off the bottom. So that is going to fit on there, just like that. So I'm just so I don't lose it, I'm just going to pop a bit of repositionable tape on the back, line it up and push it down. So now for this bit, if you remember, this is the stacked pocket where we've got one pocket there, one there and one at the top. So our first pocket, whoops, is 3.5 inches. So we need to cut just under 3.5 inches from the bottom. So measure it up to 3.5 inches and then go to 3 3/8. And then that will go onto there with a small reveal there. And then I'm just going to mark on, get it straight, mark on here and just trim that down slightly. Because of the gap that we had there, it will be just under the 12 inches altogether. So that is going to line up like that. So next we have this pocket. So this pocket is 1.5 inches deep. So what I'm going to do is trim 1.5 inches from there. So that's 1.5. And the next one, yeah, is 1.5. So I'll trim that one just under 1.5. Just line it up straight, and then you've got your top piece. So this one will tuck ever so slightly down, and again I just need to trim that down. And if I put all 3 pieces together, I can trim all 3 at once. So that one's just going to sit inside there. And line that one up. Then the next one, and line that one up, and then the top one, will just fit at the top there. So get the ink out, make sure I use the right one, not the pink one that I've been using recently. So just ink the edges. And pop your glue on. Line it up. Top, bottom and sides. And that goes down like that. Now with these, you only really need to ink the top edge and the 2 sides, because the bottom side is going to be tucked inside the top of that pocket. So pop your glue on. Just pop it inside there, and then line it up and pop that down. And again, the same with this one. Just ink up the top edge and 2 side edges. And pop your glue on. And again, slide that into your pocket, and then just line it up. With your top and your sides, and then again each side, the top bit, and glue on the back. And then just slide that up. There you go. And like I say, it will just tuck in underneath there. And then without your photo mats in, you've got the full picture. And then the left hand side, I would wait till I've got nearer the end, and then I may end up using that, because although that is directional, the plain on the other side means that you can just, that would actually just fit on that side. But I'll wait till nearer the end because I might decide to do something else. Now on here you've got 2 pockets at the front. I've not stuck that bit down either. So ink this all the way around. Okay, and then I might need to refill my glue. Just pop that on, line it up, and there you go. So on here we've got a pocket there. Now I could use some of this along there and have the seagull on one side and the floral bit on the other. Again, I might wait and do all the larger pages and the larger pieces before I do the smaller ones. Again, this is the flap at the back. That could go on there, or it could go on the inside. But I would tend to leave that and just do the larger pages first. So now for this one, I might use that because although it's quite busy, once you've got your photo mats on the top, you're not going to see as much of it. What you can do, if you're clever with your papers, is cut your sheet down to 8 by 8 and then cut these out of the corners so your 8 by 8 sheet tucks just inside and you've got your full page going up. So although it's like that, the pattern goes across as it did with the previous pattern. So I'm going to trim the branding strip off the bottom. And then I'm going to cut this at 8 by 8. So inches by just under 8 inches, so put them over there. Now the easiest way I found of doing this is to line your patterned paper at the bottom. There's different ways of doing it, so you could do that, mark it on here and then cut inside the lines. You could start at the front or so there we go. Make sure it's straight and then just in pencil draw around it like that. Then with your ruler and a craft knife, and I am aware this isn't showing up very well on screen, I'm sure you can, so you can see the line here. So I need to go about 1/8 of an inch inside that line. So if you line it up and cut that like that, just check it's cutting. No, think I might need a new blade. Yeah, so that's cut there. Then again, line it up about 1/8 of an inch inside the line. Normally I would use a glass cutting mat because it actually helps your blade to cut, but unfortunately the light reflects off it, so it's not very good. And again, just cut there and then line it up again about 1/8 of an inch inside, and just make, now with it being quite a busy paper, not gone quite low enough on that, so I will go a little bit further down. So there you've got your first piece. So that will sit just there. And this bit, once you've popped it back in, will go underneath that, so you won't be able to see that there's no paper missing from under there. So do the other side. And again, just, yeah, that's cut there. And then just be careful when you're using your craft knife that you're not going anywhere near fingers, because that's not a great move, getting blood all over your nice patterned paper. Again, that is the voice of experience. So not quite gone far enough there, but a little cut with the knife. And there. So that is our sections to go on there. So if I just rub that pencil mark out of there. Now again, if we pop that in the corner, we need to cut a piece out for this. So again, you've got your pencil line on that one. Again, pop that in the corner, put your pencil line across. Oops. And there you go. Take these out again. Rub your pencil lines across. And then get your sharp knife. Just line it up about 1/8 of an inch inside the pencil line. And make your cuts. And again on that one. and then line the two up. Okay, and not quite gone through, and so there's one pocket, and again on this one just about 1/8 of an inch inside. And then line it up. It's very difficult with it being heavily patterned paper to actually see the marks. There it is. So that's your two pockets. So get your rubber and just rub out your pencil marks on those. And on the original one. Normally, if it's quite a plain paper, you only have to put the lightest of pencil marks on, but because of the busyness of this, it does need to be a little bit heavier. So if I get that to the bottom there, it's a tiny bit too tall, so I'm going to trim that down by less than an 8, maybe a 16. And just so now on this one, we need, if we're inking the edges, we need to ink this side across the top and down this side, and then we just ink that bottom bit, turn it over and pop your glue on the back. And I find with these, putting this sort of paper, you're better off with glue than double-sided tape, because you can literally just slide it into place and there you go. So that's your top, your back piece, I should say. And then again, we're just going to ink the side, the top edge, and down to the bottom. Pop your glue on, and again just slide that into place, and it will line up perfectly. Now, because this one's going to be at the front, we need to ink up all the sides on this one. And then we're just going to line that up. And that's one side of your pocket done. So you can see there, you've got your stacked pocket, and then you've got another one there. So exactly the same on the opposite side. ink up the top, that side. You just don't need to ink up the inside edges. Slide that in and line it up at your side at the bottom, and then on this one ink up your edges all the way round and the bottom. Oops. Pop your glue on and then just line that up. And push that into place. So you now have your pockets there and your pockets there. Take your photo mats out and you've just got one piece of paper to cover all that. So you don't see what's down here, so you don't need to waste that bit of paper. You can always use it for something else instead. So I'm going to leave that there for tonight, and we've got that covered, and we'll do the top flap and some more next week. So next week we'll work on the back of page 2 and possibly the front of page 3. It is quite a simple album to put together. Again, I think it's the same with everything. If you just take things step by step, it is achievable by most people, shall we say. So I hope you've enjoyed that and look forward to seeing you all next week. I hope you all have a lovely Easter weekend. Let's have a quick catch up on the comments. Helen's bead and gone. Hi Jennifer. Hi Nicole. Yeah, a soft pencil really does help, and a good eraser or a good rubber helps as well. I've had some that you can buy from the cheaper shops that don't always rub out very well and sometimes make a mess more than what the pencil mark was. So it is worth investing that little bit more on a decent rubber eraser. So we'll get that done, and hopefully I'll see you all next week. Have a lovely Easter. If you're going to eat chocolate Easter eggs, enjoy them, but don't make yourself sick. And I'll speak to you all soon. See you soon. Bye.